Okay, so it's 1 minute before the top of the hour. I'm getting very bored trading this euro dollar, so I got some money to blow here. Try to blow up the account. I'm putting sell limits on the British pound up in no man's land. Now look at this puppy go. That's a 10 pip grid. This is about a 600 pip move here. Depending which template I put on here. Look at this simple view of the market. What's wrong with this kind of analysis? It shouldn't take you more than 20 seconds to analyze a chart. How to read a price chart. It's more like how to draw a trend line. Yeah. So, how to draw a trend line. Just keep anchoring it off of this top. Look at this guy go. So I'm coming into the sell trap, and if it goes any higher tonight, I'm going to sell it. Seems very childish, but that's the only way I roll. Like a child, like a pissed off. Yep. Commenting on everything I see, telling the emperor his clothes. No, look, he's so good. There's my sell orders. And I'm just throwing in the kitchen sink on this. I love that kitchen sink. Like throw in the kitchen sink. Okay, that's the daily chart. Here's a 25 pip grid. British pound is off the rails. So really easy trading here on the British pound. You got to trade super, super big. Really big shoe. Look at this thing just screaming north on the 4 hour. There's a 4 hour sell. No fills yet. I know I want to sell up there though. Coming up into this major, this is just like the trade in the dollar yen. And this just happens to be coming up here at the end, in the middle of the week right now. There's the sells. Of course, the template's definitely torturous, isn't it? That's so many orders that got in there. Here with a 12 pip stop. Just fill them, anything you want, anything you can think of. Jump through the templates here. This is the stuff that I uploaded. There's templates galore in here. I don't even know. That's how many templates are in here. It's totally going up. I was selling into that. Unfortunately, every template has to refix the scale. So I'm only concerned with the 100-yard line here. And the other line's coming from the computer drawing this indicator called the PP, which is it's automatic support and resistance off of how many days back on the wicks. So this is the probably getting it off of something back here, who knows. It's a ridiculous indicator. It's just another bullshit indicator. All that matters to me is how many pips. So the 100-yard line here, I'm going to put a big basket. Place it right on that. So all night long, if it comes up here, I'll sell it in 4 hours if it comes up here. And then I'm just going to canvas the whole area like a pig. I got my favorites here. Here's the break even. Geometric break even. Here's another geometric break even. It would just set it and forget it. Just add money to the account. Add to taste. Same thing, geometric here. Insanely greedy take profits though, but a real not going to stop you out kind of stop. Hard time stopping you out of that trade. If you can imagine the market, and you have to have some imagination, this bottom here is a big deal. So you switch back, wax on, wax off, the old wax on, wax off trick. That's wax on, that's wax off, and then here is the floor in terms of sheer closing price. The line in the sand, as they used to call it there. And here's where you broke through the line of sand, the line in the sand. You're screaming up into this. So if you turn on the bars, look how this window is very, it just spilled out. And this closing price, if you go bar to no bar, see, as soon as you put the bars on there, you can't see the forest for the trees. You can't see that. Chart shift. Okay, so now it's getting boring again. So I'm already short with real money. Now, if I wanted to get short here, I have stops. If I feel like I missed out, here's the sell limits that last an hour. If you go to the 5-minute chart, see people that sold up here at resistance are already winning. Now the spread's awful here. You can see the spread on the 5-minute. See, the spread's 2 pips here. But this thing moves, so you have to use a very different scheme now. Okay, there's a pullback. Now we're looking for a run up. So the hotkey set right now would be, I'm going to sell on a limit in a stream here for an hour. Those are all sells, and then the next one I would hit if I thought it was really flying, but it's not, is this one. Pretty tame, pretty almost unreachable in 1 hour that we're going to make it that much further. Especially if you go to the other time frames and see how that fits in pip-wise. So if you launch this one, 25 pips north in an hour, really? Maybe earlier today, right? Maybe that would have worked earlier today. But now, you're just shooting for this, so I'm just going to lay all these in. This is how... I just put the wrong orders in there, I think. Let's screw that up. Sell limit, SL. Those three, if I keep running those every hour, can you imagine? Okay, so we're making some money there. Sells are kicking in. We're going to wait a half hour. No fills here. And it's as simple as that. You just figure out if you want to buy or sell, and you put in the orders. Here's another thing to consider when you think that it's going to do you some good at this point to look at the daily chart. Sure, you can look at the daily chart, but you're not even near this. So what matters to you? The 4 hour? The 1 hour? If you sold all the new highs starting here, I know it's difficult to believe, but you just start selling, sell. And certainly this trade, you're loving it. Now, if you cashed out of something there, you're up. And you've got enough money so that if it comes back up here, you can sell more. The nice thing about limit orders, you can set them way down here right now and go to sleep. You can't, you can put them in logical places or just strew them out there. It's kind of hard for me to picture a stop order, even though it would work for some reason. I cannot picture selling here with a stop here to make profit here, especially if it's coming into the station. The train stations are laid out in a haphazard, chaotic manner. If you consider every zigzag to be this is the 1 hour. If the train station is here, if you put in a sell stop, sell, okay, it's great until you hit here. But this anchor, you have to see that anchor. You have to be able to see this top. And you can't see it. Maybe you can. I can't see it with bars, and I can't see it with candles. The PP indicator is putting on that for me, this line here, so I know the approximate area of the trailing. You can adjust that to taste in there too. So everything's adjustable to taste, and everything's customizable. You certainly do want to customize some of this stuff because it's just not going to fit your personality. This has to be the biggest money-making trade on here. This is 100 pips. Without having to be there, this is 1 week passage here. Is 1 week. I'm sorry, 1 day. 1 day. This is the same on the weekly, though. This is the exact same setup on the weekly as on the daily. So you have to be able to see that. You can call it a pattern. I call it a psychological pivot. I call it a pivot. I don't call it a pattern. Sure, pattern pivot, right? But pivot is a singular turning point, whereas a pattern I always think is terms of you know, some type of design, a design kind of idea of a pattern. So here we are. And as far as buying it, sure, I would buy this on pullbacks, but you'd have to put in little areas. Here's 6 hours, right? If it comes back to the round below here and starts trouncing all the bullish people, I might buy there for a bounce. Now here's where you have to have some type of strategy. Remember Stratego? I played Stratego. Sophisticated version of Battleship or something. But you had to remember the position of all the pieces. So in your mind's eye, if you go to sleep and you wake up and you're like, God, I'm up on that trade, just because you place the strategy, the sell high, buy low strategy, which is really, I suppose, what limits are. Because you cannot sell up here on limits. I mean, you cannot sell up here on limits. You have to sell up here. I'm sorry, you can't. If you're going to make money from it going up, they have to be buy stops up there. So you're going to go with the crowd as they're going up. So it is very complicated. Right there, the 3 order types are enough to keep anybody busy for quite some time. The time that people spend on breaking out a fib tool and trying to find the perfect moving average, I can just tell you, trust me, I've run every moving average increment from 1 to 144. And they all have a beautiful fit. It's called curve fitting. I've been known for a long time to be the most dangerous way to build a robot is to curve fit it, and then when the curve's gone, bye-bye. There goes your perfectly back-tested robot. And you'll see people publish curve-fitted robots because it must be the only way they're able to do that, because when you watch the robot trade, you realize it trades like a fucking idiot. It does. Come on. Is anybody going to deny that if you watch the playback of a strategy tester that you're like, what is this thing doing? And can it see that it's the end of the day and we're up 5,000 pips and maybe it's going to back off? And is it really going to buy because we're in an uptrend? Is it really going to keep on buying? So those kind of things in this whole demo account here, you have to be quite aware of the fact there's twice as many pips on almost twice as many pips on the British pound. You can't approach every currency when they say every currency has its own character. I'd say, yeah, every currency has its own pip range too. Right, some of this stuff is just wackadoodle, pip-wise. And to orchestrate all these, You're not going to make as much money. You're not going to have super consistent results if you trade more than one currency on a broker, but it depends, right? A lot of people don't care whether or not the front desk girl has a checkered past, as long as she's really hot and she hasn't spilled too much coffee on the latest client. So that's always a, tried and true kind of like business plan. And I wish Skype would update and put a hotter chick on. I got this girl that's showing up on my Skype homepage, and it's just disturbingly not hot. So eye candy, I don't know if it rots your eyes, but as they say, it's easy on your eyes. That's the old polite way. It's easy on the eyes. You're not an eyesore. And you can't be an eyesore if you're these people that are selling these Forex courses. They're not typically some tooth-missing zombie that's pulling down 100% a day. Gee, I wonder why. So that's always an oddity. Who's going to take you seriously the way you look? Okay, looking for the British pound to back off. Back off the 25-yard line here. And of course, it just matters how many pips you're trying to make. And there's just a million trades out there. If you had the energy to have a hotkey system that extracted 8 pips with a 5-pip stop, and you're on the 1-minute chart, and if you only traded in the buy direction, there's got to be 20 trades a day right there alone. Then you got the swing traders. Put on some trade for 2 days. Clean up. Just clean up. They're done for the week. So it depends completely what your personality is as far as what you're good at. So if you're good at telling people to go to hell, say, and you get a gig doing that, I could be a shrink or something. I don't know. I guess a comedian is the one that can get away with being ridiculous and get paid for it. And but in the market, the funny thing is, market completely open to a million kinds of expressions. It's more than just trying to build a system. It's just seeing the market for the pile of insanity that it is, that it's going up and down. And it sounds really childish to say that the market goes up and the market goes down. Looks like buyers are coming into that British pound there. And of course, right here, if you were short, you might have the cover right now. Look at this relentless march north of the British pound. Absolutely relentless. Total crush of the dollar there. And that's the 1 hour. So in the half hour, see, this is just about to cave in on the 5-minute. But look at the buyers coming in with that. The awful spread they're having to pay on this broker, literally the fair value of the last bit. So right there, they've just stopped anybody with a stop, and if you get follow through there for about a drop into the last known top bottom on the 15, it's going to be, see the perfect launching point here. If you're trading on the clock, you hit the button and you ride it, and here's the top bottom here. Should be the top bottom, but what happens if this is the new trend on the 15? We just rolled over, coming new session. We could start stabbing down in here and getting a stab pullback. But this right there would have been, they just grabbed the stops there, and now they got some fuel to go north. But since I'm not short yet, and all my pendings are sitting up there to go short, and here's the 1 hour hotkey button. So if I wanted to punch the keyboard and try to get in on stuff that I just know is I want to sell up there for the next hour. It's just way up there like that. And my targets are going to be just above the high of the day, which makes sense because, and that's got a master stop on it. Because the grid drops, you cannot put a master stop at separate entries. If you open up the grid, I don't know how if anybody's really into this stuff, but for those of you that dug into these scripts and looked at them all, and it's quite a pile. So you're stuck with this across spacings. The cursor tip is going to be where the first order comes in. And these are very precise. Whereas the hotkey thing, since you can't run a hotkey on these just have to be dropped, that the cursor tip is going to be where the first ticket comes in, and then here 6 pips, 12 pips, for a total of a 12 by 3. So it's a 12 by 3 because it's going to cover that area. And of course, if you drop it, you'll see it. Broker's offline. But when they come back on, it should come in. Okay, so it's very hard to believe that you're picking the top. Now, this is another thing I think that the belief system, people say you can't pick a top and a bottom. What if you just did? Do you get out of the trade because you're like, oh my God. And you're thinking, gosh, if I would have held it through that top, I actually picked the top. I mean, if you say you can't do it, you believe that, then you're going to believe that it's not possible. Big psychological trick that you're playing on yourself every day. Like here, would you buy just below here with a stop there? Now this is the grid that has the non-master stop. Or would you put on a buy limit? Here's the double click version. I'm going to buy in an hour. I'll buy down here. Well, this is a great trade. If that came down there in an hour, coming to Asia, I'm going to go sideways right now. The sideways game's coming. Anytime you see a big move like this, what do you know next thing's going to happen? Now here, you had to wait until all of this to start making money on counter trends. Now you could run sell stop strategy. Now that's a strategy. Come to think of it, I do have, or a tactic is to put in sell stops as we're going up. Sell stop, sell stop, sell stop, and you finally make some money. Sell stop, oh, you get clapped. Sell stop, we're waiting to get filled. Let's sell stops, and we'll cover here, and we'd cover there if we would have gotten the full thing, and you could trade on buy stops. So you could literally go with the flow of the market, and you're probably going to get a little chopped. But you can also have the sell limits up there. So imagine you got a grid of buy limits down here, and you got the sell stops running. And tonight you put in a sell stop, sell stop, sell stop with sell limits above. That's a great idea. Because you're getting in two different styles of entry. Like here. When you have sell limit bank in here. Buy limit bank in here. But as the market's dropping, you know it's a good trade. Just keep hitting the buy stop key like a pissed off trader. And the faster that drops, the more you load up on the, the more you load up, I was envisioning clicking the trade. You just keep hitting the button. Or you get in, just a ton of limits down here. You start throwing in limits that last, and the density's there, and it's a perfect. Now here's where you curve fit. You can curve fit these. Start selling this new high. Sell, 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 sell. Selling seriously into this. To the 100, to the 50, and then kablamo. Now here it was definitely you were thinking, well, I should take something off the table. Absolutely, because of this previous, just like this. If the market ever comes back to here, it's going to get choppy. Because that's the exchange zone. It's a Forex exchange. It's not a, it's a market, but it's an exchange. People are buying and selling. This is the most boring current. I mean, if you look at the British pound, the euro dollar is just a boring. So to make this fun, you have to go to the 1 hour chart and take your expectations down to making a few pips. And here the spread's tight enough that, hey, you know what? It's okay. Okay, looks like. All right, so this is a completely different world, and this is why another reason why you shouldn't jump around currency pairs unless you. I mean, there's never any warning from these empowered trading people. They never say anything like, you know what? When you go from this currency to that currency, it's a different risk. It's a completely different risk view. If you're used to running a 50 pip stop and riding these things, and you can't just enter on one ticket. I want to see this guy. If anybody, please send me the guy that's trading on Fibonacci's and making money. The guy that's trading on, if it comes down to what, you see how they trade that. It's coin flip trading. It's total coin flip. Their entries suck. They make no sense. Show me a sensible entry on a fib. You're just not going to see it. And not to mention, even if it did work. Well, I mean, how often do these setups come around on a fib, on a Gartley? Like I said, it's keeping you from over trading, if anything else. It has a side effect. You're making money from the side effect. That's like when they came out with that stuff to grow hair on your head. It was a heart medication. So it turns out the side effect, it was growing hair on your head. They're like, hey, let's use it over there. Just like a bad robot. I mean, these robots are just blowing up accounts. Why not just invert the trades on them? Ridiculous. So here's Wednesday, Wild Wednesday. You always get these amazing. We got a new high on New Zealand today and a new high on the British pound. Those guys have really been dating lately. New Zealand with the pound. They're joined at the hip. So I've got those four currencies. I put a different order. This is the four pairs I ran with the big sell strategy. And if you traded my 50 pip, 25 pip, 50 pip retracement strategy, you made money. Hands down. No doubt about it. Here you're selling at the 100. New Zealand. Sell at the 100. Sell at the 100 twice on Australia. I do think this could be the beginning of the end for Australia for a while. Kind of going into this trend line becomes resistance here. Of course, still going up. Still going up. Here was the sell off the 50, back to the 100. Like I said, this is no-brainer stuff. All you had to do Sunday night was put a sell limit here. You would have captured here, and you bail at the 100. You reload. You buy back at the 100. Like I said, you have to take. If you're selling on the 25s, you have to take that 25. You got to take that money. See how choppy that is? You're making money.